Good morning, everyone. How are you? Yes. Good morning. It's the weekend. It's Saturday. Oh, how fun. Who's in the chat right now? Perkindo, hello. Hello, Hellspawn Ray. I need to get back on the night shift. Really? I'm not so sure. I like the day shift. I'm having a good time. Let's get rid of this. Boom. How are you guys? Are you doing okay? Let me switch this to Yeti. Boom. Oh, God, I'm getting so good at this. I'm getting so good at running my own show. Good morning, everyone. Worst Ones is here. He says, Hail Caesar. Hello. David Dunn says, hi. Good morning. Good morning to everyone. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like doing live streams because these videos that I want to do, the things that I want to talk about, are so big. I mean, the subjects are pretty big. So, kind of have to, rather than just sit there and record a video, which would take kind of a long time, it's better just to talk it through, I feel like. And that's what we're going to do. Interesting article out today. Let me show you this. We got mentioned quite a bit, in the past couple of days. We're getting some hit pieces, but also some praise from people. People are kind of weighing in again about Comicsgate and about what's going on in the world of entertainment when it comes to what we're doing and what people like us are doing. You don't have to just sit back anymore, guys. You don't have to just sit back anymore and just accept the crumbs that are handed out by the weirdo SJWs. You don't have to balance scrape to them. You don't have to just wait for them to accept you. You don't have to apologize anymore. You can get out there and do what you want to do. I don't know what this is, the conservative voice of Arizona. This is great. Conservatives are patronizing the arts and media directly and skipping liberal Hollywood. This is exciting stuff. Hollywood and other aspects of the entertainment industry, including music and publishing, tend to be very liberal institutions. It's no mystery. Let me zoom in on this a little bit. It's no mystery. And a lot of the content it produces often reflects that. Sometimes the messages are subtle, and sometimes they are in your face, full-blown social justice advocacy. And yet, if one considers the broader market, liberals only make up a plurality of the total audience. Of course that's true. Of course that's true, everyone. I mean, most people are normal. Most people are not crazy, full-blown whack job leftists. Politically, the U.S. is narrowly divided. Each of the major parties' candidates received more than 60 million votes in 2016. Presently, in addition to the White House, Republicans hold a majority in the Senate, while Democrats have a majority in the House. If that's any indication, there clearly are more potential audiences beyond those of a liberal persuasion, yet so much of the entertainment and news content for bigger brands, not all of it, but a lot of it, will include messaging appealing to liberal audiences. Conservatives get largely ignored, and you will hear these people say Trump just got 1/3. He's got 30%. He got 30% of the United States of America. Because of course, you break down the election results of 2016 to Hillary got, I think, 2 million more votes because she basically owned California. She ran the table in California. Here's the thing, guys. Election results, even if only a small number of the people vote, that's a poll. It's a pretty good poll. you could basically narrow it down. You could winnow it down to just a thousand voters and get the same response. It's a poll. It doesn't matter if you test a drop of the ocean or the entire ocean. You're still going to be able to figure out the salt content of the water. And boy, was there a lot of salt after 2016. A lot of salt. Saltiness. It's so salty. It's so salty. So yeah, in any case, this is the state of America right now. This is the state of the world. The world is feeling a little bit more conservative, little bit right of center at the moment. Not overly, but a little bit. And so, you know, you have an opportunity as a creative person, as somebody in business, to step away and actually try to produce something that is not aimed at propagandizing people towards far leftism, which is what we're doing here at Comics Gate. 342 people watching. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. 342 people on a Saturday morning here to watch Comic Artist Pro Secrets. Watch me explain what is going on in comics as we kind of watch the whole thing collapse. It's awful. It's terrible. All right. So, for example, recently in the Marvel Universe, in this case, comics, not the movies, Captain America has denounced his country because the fictional president in the story is a Russian agent. No joke. Yeah, no, it is a joke. It is a joke. It's stupid. The people who are writing comics right now are dumb. That is a dumb thing to suggest. It's a dumb thing to believe, and it's a dumb thing to have the character believe. It's a dumb thing to add to the world of Marvel Comics. It's a dumb thing to add to the world, the real world, actually. Other examples include the feminization of several once male characters, even though there's been a long line of compelling, strong female hero and villain characters for decades, and alternately there could be new characters, but instead you get female Thor, female Spider-Man, female Iron Man, or in movies and television, female Ghostbusters, female Doctor Who, and so forth. The latest Star Wars movie, The Last Jedi, was rejected by a large segment of fans who felt it was similarly too driven by gender politics. Oh, and that was jam-packed with women. It was pretty funny. It was pretty funny. You can see that stuff happening. Like you can see it happening. It's noticeable. If it's noticeable, it's not good. It's not good. I mean, look at this. Look at Marvel Comics right now. Marvel Rising. On the contrary. On the contrary. Marvel Rising. Heart of Iron. Heart of Iron. My God. This is the thing. Marvel Comics at this point is 100% appealing to an audience that just doesn't exist. I know they want it to exist. I know Marvel Comics wants this audience. I know they would really like. Well, here's what they would like to do. They'd like to take you for granted, you incel, and they'd like you to just buy whatever you're going to buy. You are their pay piggy. You are supposed to just constantly put up to purchase whatever they put out. Okay, yeah. But in the meantime, in addition to you, they're going to stop giving you the stuff that you want, and they're going to try to kind of reach out and change your heart while bringing in other people as well. They're looking for the teenage girl audience. And so this is what we're given here. I see 0 white males to start with. I don't know if the squirrel, it's not, I don't know if the squirrel's male or not, but I don't know if you can count that as Caucasian. It's an animal. All right. So 0 white males, 2 men, 2 kind of cucked out men sitting here. One is kind of what we call a Gordon Good brother. These people, these SJWs, they kind of just cut the balls off black men and then just kind of make them kind of cucked out. Super smart, but no strength. No power really. Just kind of, hey, how you doing, ladies? And then we've got this guy back here. I don't know. I guess he's Latino. And the rest of them are women. None of these characters are interesting. We've got Captain Marvel, of course, leading the way here. We've got female, teenage black Iron Man, teenage black female Iron Man. We've got the worst character Marvel has ever come up with right here. This is Kamala Khan. Kamala Khan is an awful Ms. Marvel, terrible character that was created backwards. It's created front to back. It's like, okay, well, we want a Muslim character. We want her to be female. We want to hit those two. We want to hit those 2 points right there. All right, so we got a Muslim female character. Let's make her Ms. Marvel. She's the new Ms. Marvel. Well, what are her powers? I don't. Her hands get big. Her hands get big, and this is her costume. It's, you know, it's basically something that you could whip together if you're a cosplayer pretty quickly. It's you know, a skirt with a lightning bolt on it and a scarf. It's just a scarf and then kind of a domino mask. What are her powers again? Oh, her hands get big. Oh, see, if my hands got big, I would have, I don't know, I wouldn't be happy about it. I'm not sure I'd be happy about having big hands, especially if I were a girl. I wouldn't be crazy about that power. Captain Marvel, you've got Heather Antos right here, her character. You've got Squirrel Girl here, who we've gone over Squirrel Girl. I mean, Comicsgate has complained about this weird book for a long time. America Chavez. America Chavez, one of the biggest failures of Marvel's publishing line over the past 4 years. I mean, terrible, terrible comic book. Terrible. And they just won't let that go. She got canceled. Boy, was that a weird comic. I'm not sure who this is right up here. I'm not sure, and I'm not sure I'm meant to care. But this is Marvel Rising, everyone. It's Marvel Rising. In the meantime, we've got an article here. How will Marvel shutting down affect Star Wars comic books? We're going to get to that as well. But let's get back to a little positivity first. Yeah, the star of Captain Marvel, Brie Larson, recently criticized white male movie reviewers she perceived did not like A Wrinkle in Time. You get the idea. Here we go. So suffice it to say, while some of the aforementioned offerings have been better received than others, among fans, there have been a growing dissatisfaction who felt that all has become far too politically correct, too overtly focused on left-wing social justice issues, and too divisive. In short, it's just not everyone's cup of tea. So the free market has responded in the comic book industry. Richard Meyer and John Malin and Brett R. Smith, have raised over $400,000 on Indiegogo for their graphic novel Jawbreakers, depicting a military coup of ex-superheroes turned mercenaries. Meyer is an outspoken critic of the comic book industry. That's your boy, Zach. He says which he says has become too liberal. Not too liberal. Not too liberal. I wish we could correct that language. Too far leftist, too extreme. I'm a liberal. I realize that over time. It's like, no, I'm kind of a liberal. I'm conservative relative to everyone around me, but no, I'm very much liberal. I'm what a classical liberal used to be. I would call myself a John F. Kennedy Republican at this point, because if John F. Kennedy were still here, he'd be in the Republican Party. He's basically Mitt Romney at this point. So we need to stop saying liberal. That's too kind of a word. It's social justice warrior. It's far leftist. It's extremist. So he decided to fund his own book, betting that enough fans agreed with him. It paid off with a big return via crowdfunding, but not before his publisher abruptly canceled a deal to distribute the book amidst pressure from within the industry and fans. Meyer is now self-publishing the book via a startup company, Splato Comics, and he did publish it. Martina Markota gets shouted out here. This whole thing with Martina, we got to get her on here and talk to her about Lady Alchemy again. Red Rooster, of course, Mitch Breitweiser, $180,000. He and his family were criticized and harassed in the industry simply for supporting President Trump, and that's all it was. I mean, all it was. You guys have to understand. After the election happened, I wore my MAGA hat for a photograph, and I was excited about it. I tweeted out me and my MAGA hat, I received immediate hate. Absolute hate from people who should know better, but I think we've come to understand the industry and who actually makes the industry up. Mitch drew a little drawing of President Trump holding a sword and wished that President Trump would be able to heal the divide that afflicted America. Fat chance of that. And they came after him as well. Mitch never did anything to anyone. I mean, you can call me a snarky SOB. You can call me a snarky SOG, son of a gun, if you want to. I've always spoken my mind. I've always been sarcastic, and I've always let people know. It's important to stay humble, but still let these bitches know. And I do. I've done that my whole career. But Mitch has never done that. Mitch has basically kept his head down. He's kept his mouth shut, and he has drawn great Captain America comics. He and his wife have worked together in the industry and are mature, kind adults who were persecuted simply for supporting the president. That's all it was. And here's my mention here. Ethan Van Sciver's Cyberfrog raised more than $620,000 in 2 offerings on Indiegogo, who has served as one of the most vocal spokespersons for the movement. Well, I am vocal. Chuck Dixon and Timothy Lim's political satire Trump Space Force raised $72,000. Well, they used to come on my show a lot. Tales from Beyond the Gate has raised more than $4,000 as of this writing, and many more are being highlighted at sites like Indiecron.com. Go to Indiecron.com. Also, we've got, we're still doing stuff. Comicsgate is still doing stuff. I'm finishing Cyberfrog, but Rainbow Brute's going to come up pretty soon. Right now, in the meantime, we've got Mike S. Miller's new offering, 3 different books, Meg, Six Gun Samurai, and Deal with the Devil. I would love to see this book actually be the next success story. This one in particular, the Meg. Or Deal with the Devil is pretty cool too. They're all cool. Six Gun Samurai is awesome. Guys, the link for this is in the description. If you like all this stuff, if you're down with it, if you like the idea of actually standing up and making our own media, support Mike S. Miller's books right here. The link is in the description. Choose from one of the 3 comics he has, or buy all 3 of them here. Just back this book and let's make this another success, another glowing success to kind of show these people exactly what what we can do. We can actually do our own thing. Ultimately, the movement has also led to some threats of political violence and death threats, guys, against members of the community, or even those simply perceived to be a part of the community. 2 recent examples include Comicsgate supporter Edwin Boyette, our dear Edwin, who Gail refers to as Uncle Creepy. How is Edwin creepy, you weirdo? How is Edwin creepy? He's the nicest human being on the face of the earth. That guy's like a Buddhist monk. You want to call him creepy? For goodness sakes, what is wrong with people? What is wrong with people? And then again, Alternative Comics founder Peter Simeti. This is the thing. Again, I said yesterday, listen, I'm Ethan Van Sciver. When I stepped into Comicsgate and decided to speak out on behalf of what I saw going on in my own industry, I knew what I was getting into. I knew that. I knew what I was becoming. I knew the risk I was taking. But people like Mitch Breitweiser, people like Edwin Boyette, people like Peter Simeti, these are some of the kindest, gentlest, they're not looking for a fight, people on the face of the earth. And the fact that these people are taking the brunt of abuse, I mean, it just goes to show we are the good guys, and they are, well, not all of them are, but many of them over on this, on the other side are terrible people. I mean, cruel villains. I would say villains. I would even describe them as villains, and I would describe you in the chat as wonderful, kind. All 815 of you, presuming that, none of the weirdos are actually there. You guys are good people. You're very, very good people. You don't deserve to be swatted or threatened with violence. All right, so despite incidents like these, fans have ultimately responded positively to the new books being offered. While not every project will ultimately succeed or is even necessarily politically driven, none of them should be, really, in my opinion, none of them should be. And the movement itself may not last forever. It is a perfect example of how individual creators in the market responded to pent-up demand by fans and resentment against larger publishers perceived to have an agenda to deliver something that was being clamored for. And it all happened in a year when comic shops saw overall sales decline for the 2nd year in a row. Wrong, the 3rd year in a row. It's nothing short of revolutionary, and that's what we are. On the other hand, all right, here we go. How will Marvel shutting down affect Star Wars comic books? This is a great website called Disney Star Wars is Dumb, run by Ichibaka. Another great researched article that I just wanted to go through with you guys. This guy's fantastic. All right, so the news came in yesterday that Disney could be shutting down Marvel Comics. All right, this is from Bleeding Cool. It's inevitable that something is going to happen. People just can't hemorrhage money all day long and expect to just get this kind of backing from a parent company like Disney. Eventually, Disney has to kind of cut the fat and then figure out, look, what are we doing this for? Why do we have Marvel Comics? Well, we have them because of the IPs. Do we really need the comic books to sustain the IPs when the movies and the cartoons and the video games are kind of doing that in its stead? Uh, maybe not. Maybe not. All right. So Bleeding Cool reports, and Bleeding Cool would not be Bleeding Cool. Not exactly a conservative bastion. Not exactly sympathetic to Comicsgate. I would say. I think that's fair to say. Goth King says, Uncle Ethan, what hobby can I have that won't be shat on by SJWs? It's hard to say. It's hard to say. They want to infiltrate everything. Maybe you could get into like model airplane whittling, something like that. I'm not so sure that SJWs can affect you there, but they might. They might. If it becomes profitable, if it becomes a big deal, if it becomes a platform by which they can take it over and espouse their craziness, they will. They will take it over. And the only things they don't want are things that they can't actually subvert. All right, Marvel editor-in-chief CB Sobolski. Somebody told me CB stood for complete bastard. That is not true. I don't know what it does stand for, but it is not complete bastard, Sobolski. I used to like CB Sobolski quite a bit. Chief Creative Officer Joe Quesada are heading to Austin, Texas. Oh my God. Austin, Texas. For the South by Southwest Festival next week. And they plan to host a panel which will show how all of the success Marvel has had in markets far more lucrative than comics, in other words, movie, TV shows, and video games, ultimately stem from the ideas that originated in the less lucrative comics, guys. This might seem like a common sense argument to make, but maybe it's one that's necessary. As we saw in Brian Hibbs' recent takedown of big comics, the business of actually selling comics could be in peril. Hibbs noted, national sales are very poor. There are comics in the national top 100 that aren't even selling 20,000 copies. A significant number of stores have closed, perhaps as many as 10% of outlets. I think it's even more than that. Well, it depends on where you're measuring from. Maybe in the last year, 10%. Yeah. And as Hibbs went on to illustrate, publishers' strategy to make profits seem to rely not on increasing readership, but from bilking more and more money from the existing and dwindling readership. All correct. Now, here's the thing I want to say about this real quick before we go forward. Joe Quesada's idea of saying, of going out there and making the case that these movies, these more lucrative projects like movies, TV shows, video games, ultimately stemming from ideas that originated in less lucrative comics, that was before these stories. The stories that are worth making into movies came out before SJWs came over and took them over. I mean, that's just the truth. Like now, I'm not sure what comics are for. Are you going to make a movie out of this? Are you going to make a movie out of this at this point? Yeah, probably you are. So I'm not so sure. Do enough stories exist at this point to give better creative people, better creative minds that are not SJW infected in Hollywood and in the video game industry, enough of a springboard for them to actually create better, more appealing content for future stories about these Marvel characters? Yeah, probably. I mean, when the people who are generating these stories within the less lucrative market of comic books are all SJWs, I'm not quite sure what is expected. Felipe M says, did I read correctly? No white males in the future. The world will crumble because no more maintenance and progress. We have all we have thanks to white men. That is a fact. Ungrateful bastards. He said, I'm Hispanic, by the way. Thanks, Felipe. I'm not sure that we have everything that we have because of white men, but I think it's ridiculous to kind of it's ridiculous to kind of delineate human progress in terms of skin color. It's not important. It's just not an important thing. Let's elevate people who have good ideas and this idea of white men versus people of color is poisonous. It's a poisonous thing. It shouldn't be a consideration. Shouldn't be a consideration. Want a clear and current example of Marvel's preposterous flood the zone strategy, says Brian Hibbs. We talked about this. War of the Realms is supposed to be their major Q2 project in 2019, but in the first month alone, they're asking us to buy into 2 issues of the series being released with no sales data, as well as 4 different tie-in miniseries. All 6 of these comics, which are built around a 6-issue storyline, will require final orders from us before we've sold a single comic to an actual reader. Is there anyone in this room who thinks that's a good idea, that this is sustainable, that this will sell more comics to more readers, that this will sell any copies to people who aren't already on board with Marvel's periodicals already? And of course it won't. What this article leaves out is Brian Hibbs also points out that War of the Realms, this new project, the first issue has 25 variant covers. 25 variant covers. For people in the chat who don't understand how comics work, I want you to understand, and maybe you'll be interested in, the criminally negligent scams that go on, the way that publishers, these predatory publishers, actually exploit retailers. First and foremost, you must understand Marvel and DC are not interested in selling the comics to you and me. We're the purchasers, we're the readers. They're not selling to us. They're only trying to sell to the retail outlets. We don't buy directly from Marvel. We buy directly from our local comic book stores. So Marvel and DC say, hey, we got a new book out. It's called War of the Realms. We want to sell as many copies of this as we can. So what we're going to do, we know that the audience is dwindling, the customer base is dwindling, as are the retailer outlets. I mean, we're losing, comic stores are actually closing down at pretty scary rates, pretty alarming. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a single book and we're going to add 25 different covers on this book. You know how TV Guide has variant editions? The same issue with TV Guide, but it'll be like, if it's Star Wars, you'll have 4 different covers with 4 different characters on it. It's all the same on the inside. It's just the covers are different in the hopes of making you, the buyer, the collector, buy 4 copies of the same magazine. Well, comic books have run with this idea and basically are being kept afloat by this idea that we can try to get people, one customer, to purchase more than one copy of the same book. And we do that by offering variant covers. And it's okay sometimes. I mean, in some cases, it's a good idea because the collector market does exist. And if we can just get some rare versions of popular comics out there for the collectors to scoop up, that's good for everybody. It's good for shops. It's good for the companies. It's good for the collectors. But when you have books that there is no market for, and people aren't sure that they're going to like it, and you scoop out 25 variant covers with no inherent value, no rarity, no purpose for collecting other than just to collect more of. It's not like there are less of this cover than the other cover. There are just 25 different covers to choose from. That's Marvel Comics hoping, when this book has a $6 cover price, that one single fan is going to spend $150 collecting every single copy of this book. That's criminal. That's negligent. That is absolutely negligent. Not being mentioned here by Bleeding Cool. And then Brian Hibbs goes on. He says, I say to you, we do not need plans or programs that are aimed at selling more comics to the same customers they really can't afford and don't want any more titles to buy. Our focus as an industry should be on making our periodical releases more attractive to more new readers and to grow our base, not simply exploit the existing one. There are enough. There are plenty. There are plenty of nerds out there. Who buys comics? Well, hate to tell you, you want to know who buys comics, to be honest with you? You want to know who buys comics every single week? Who drive to comic book stores and drop $50 to $100 picking up a stack of comics off the shelf every single week? Yeah, guys in their 30s and 40s. I wouldn't say white males, even though, yeah, definitely. But males, men. There are a few women, sure. Not that many. Not enough to support this. And by the way, most of the women who are into this, who are into comics, are into the comics that, the way that they were. They're into the comics the way that they were. They're into, they like the power fantasy. They like the sexiness. They like the violence. I don't know who this is for. I don't know who was asking for this. I'm not sure. I'm not sure who was asking for that. I say to you, we do not need plans or programs that are aimed at selling more comics to the same customers. We need more customers, and there are more customers out there. It's more of the same. It's not different. You're not there. It's not, we're trying to get different types of customers. There are plenty. There are plenty of fantasy obsessed males in their 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s with plenty of disposable income that would buy comic books that were attractive to them. Plenty of them. That is the market. That is who gets in their car, drives to the comic book store, and buys comic books in bulk. If less people are buying comics and the direct market is on the verge of collapse, then why should a megacorp like Disney continue to bother publishing them at all, especially when they can make far more money mining the intellectual properties for other mediums? Well, perhaps that's why Quesada and Cebulski plan to make the case that none of those things would be possible without the comics. Yeah, that's going to be a tough case for those two chunks to make. It's going to be a tough case to make. You've got extremely, extremely talented, bright, amazing, brilliant storytellers in Hollywood. I mean, much better, I think. Much better than the ones that, we see in comics for the most part. Much better. And if the audience for comics is dwindling, why wouldn't they just mine the stories of the past? Give them a little spit and polish, and present them as stories, current stories. There are plenty of stories that have already been told. Therefore, comics must continue to be published even if they add little value to the budget on their own, simply because they provide the genetic material to make actual profits elsewhere. I don't believe that's true anymore. I used to. I don't believe it's true anymore. That's what happens when you bring agenda into this. When you bring political, ideological agenda to this, you can no longer make the same case that these stories have integrity as storytelling, exercises, that they are all about imagination. They're all about, adventure. That they have appeal beyond anything that you could get in some kind of ideological pamphlet at, I don't know, Black Lives Matter rally, or what was the other one? When they were standing on Wall Street, when they were all pooping on police cars. That's all it is. They're now political pamphlets. Good job. Cosmic Book News reports Disney shutting down Marvel Comics ? The comic book industry is presently said to be in a state of collapse. Following the recent news of troubles within DC Comics, now it's being speculated that Disney may actually be considering shutting down Marvel Comics. Okay, this is what people are talking about right now. Thank you. Occupy Wall Street. Exactly. Yeah, Occupy. I'm thinking of all the radical leftist movements that I can think of. Always count on my chat. You guys are awesome. Remember that? Do you remember when they were like, oh, it's disgusting. After pooping on police cars. Speculations about problems within Marvel Comics comes from a press release. By the way, let me read some of these super chats. Kay Brady says, Cebulski and Quesada should have done their jobs instead of begging people to remember how comics are useful. Yeah, like that's a self-evident thing, Kay Brady. You're exactly right about that. Comics, you don't have to say that comic books are useful tools for, stories to be used in movies to make more money when they actually are. When they actually are doing that, you don't need to say something. They are. They're not right now. Tell me what the classic SJW comic story has been. Can you just give me one? Give me one important thing that SJWs within comics have done for the medium. What? What one story? What one character? Point to one of these characters that's important. Point to one of these characters that's going to last for 50 years. Which one? Which one is it? They don't do anything. These people do not create. They destroy. Artura77 says, got $300 plus invested in Comicsgate Comics, 0 in the mainstream. Love you, Achuras. Thank you so much for your support. Let me plug this again real quick. The Meg by Mike S. Miller. Six Gun Samurai, Deal with the Devil. Part of Comicsgate is supporting Indiegogo campaigns for the comics that Comicsgate creators are offering. And this is a big one right now. Mike S. Miller's offering 3 different books, including his adaptation of the movie The Meg. So a lot of sharks, a lot of beautiful women being eaten by sharks, I guess. I don't know. I didn't get to see the movie yet. I can't get anyone to sit and watch The Meg with me. Andrea goes, I don't like sharks. So how can you not like sharks? I don't understand that. But she doesn't like sharks, I guess, because she's a woman. She's a girl. She, doesn't like that stuff. I do. I like sharks. I'm going to see The Meg eventually. But before that, I'll probably read Mike S. Miller's adaptation of The Meg. You can do that, too, by supporting The Meg. The link to this is in the description. If you just drop down the description underneath your screen, you're going to see a link that'll lead you straight to this Indiegogo page. And you can, too, purchase a copy of any one of these 3 or all 3 of Mike S. Miller's Comicsgate offerings. I believe the work is already all done. It's going to go to print as soon as he's raised enough money to do it. And you can be a part of that. Definitely be a part of that. Support Comicsgate. All right. See, Mike says that like I don't do anything for him. I do stuff for him. I mean, yeah, I show him pictures of swimming pools that are shaped like penises, but I also support his comics. I do. He should be grateful to me. Stop complaining. Yeah, titled Marvel Comics. Oh, what is this? Speculation about problems within Marvel Comics comes from a press release issued by the company where Marvel Comics chief Joe Q and CB are attending the upcoming South by Southwest, where the pair will be hosting a panel and putting it forth how Marvel Comics is responsible for success in other markets such as film, TV, video games, and merchandise. This shouldn't be a conversation that would be happening. They shouldn't be having this conversation. It should be obvious. The fact that they are makes me think bad stuff is going on, and that is the speculation right now. All right, so they're out there to save Marvel Comics. So how did we get here? And is it really possible that Disney would shut down Marvel Comics? Speculates Ichi Baka. The rest of Marvel Comics is its own animal, so I'll focus on Star Wars comics under Marvel specifically. That's what we care about. We care about Star Wars. Ichibaka is going to focus on Star Wars comics. We know that the sales of Marvel Star Wars comics has been diminishing for some time, just as the rest of their titles have, thanks in large part to a woker than woke political agenda, among other factors. Oh my God, woke Star Wars. Oh, woke Star Wars. We know that the sales of Marvel Star Wars comics, yeah, thanks in part to a woker than woke agenda. So first, let's look at the issue of free falling sales. Cosmic Book News reported sales for Star Wars and Marvel Comics related products are down for Disney's fiscal year ending in September 29th, 2018 compared to the previous year, and even more so compared to 2 years ago. As part of an annual SEC filing, Disney released its fiscal year 2018 annual financial report offering numbers and insights for their consumer products and interactive media division, which also includes publishing. Revenue for the division is down 4% from 2018 to 2017 and down almost 16% from 2018 to 2016. Profits for the 2-year period are also down nearly 17%. Disney Consumer Products Division is also the only division at Disney to have lost revenue in 2018. And now, apparently, they're going to Kiwi Farms. According to Comic-Con, Marvel Star Wars comics were very high when they were first released with The Force Awakens, but ever since have been in a horrible decline, much like everything else. The main Star Wars comics in the 2015 print of Darth Vader had insane sales, close to 1 million copies, and were the best they had initially, with the first Star Wars #1 getting over 1 million and being #1 on Marvel sales for quite a time, if I recall. These were the same issues that had Luke fight a spider hut, which I talked about many pages back. That sounds badass. However, the current Vader comics that started in 2017 after 2015 run or finished are nowhere near as high as the 2015 version, which made more than double what Dragon Ball Vader is making now. However, its sales are consistent. Not great, but consistent. The main Star Wars comics, though, are in complete shit right now and are dropping fast, with Darth Vader surpassing it easily. It doesn't help that aside from the garbage stories, the main Star Wars comics no longer have decent art, as I've shown in this thread before. Most recent sales show to be even worse, with the horribly declining art and story quality, while people are, creaming their pants over Vader, including some people who say they just don't like Disney. So you can watch the sales decline here. 64,000 down there, down to 1,500. All right, here we go. Here's Star Wars #1. It sold almost 1 million copies, 985,000. Boy, I wish I got this royalty check. Man, I wish I got this. This would be a huge royalty check. Star Wars #1 as an artist, 1 million copies. You're looking at, how much would you get in royalties? You'd get about $100,000. If you penciled that book, you probably got a $100,000 royalty check for that. That's nice. And as we see, we go down and we could just see the sales just collapsing. Star Wars #37 now at the bottom of the list here, 65,606. By the way, these are still really, really good numbers. Really good numbers. 65,000 is that's like people dream about selling 65,000 copies of a comic, but it started here. It started at nearly 1 million. So how did Star Wars comic book sales fall so far so fast? Poor quality. That is correct. And the material being produced. As the Kiwi Farms writer above noted, poor artwork is one of the reasons. All right, let me look at the poor artwork here. Does this look poor? Let me see. I can't zoom in on it. You son of a gun. Doesn't look great. That looks kind of weird. I don't know. You know what? It looks exactly like how I felt when I was watching The Last Jedi, so I'm not really sure. When I was watching The Last Jedi, this is pretty much what I was seeing in my head. Like, just like, ugh, like that, you know? So maybe it's good, maybe it's not. There's more to this galaxy than looking out for yourself. Let's see. Look at the goofy goofball Han Solo. Look at these cutesy little aliens. I don't know. Is this what Star Wars fans want? I'm not sure. This looks a little better. It's muddy. I can't really tell what this is. I can't tell what's going on, but that looks better. I don't know. Not exactly awe-inspiring artwork, says Itchy. There has been the matter of using comic books to explain plot holes in feature films rather than using them to tell original stories. For some reason, the writers of comic books became obsessed with Poe's jacket for a period of time. Wow, this artwork looks hot, dude. Whoever did this is great. Yeah, they had a whole series of comic books answering the question of how Finn got Poe's jacket. You know, not Star Wars stories, not exciting Star Wars stories, but it's like, you know, did you have a question? Did you watch the Star Wars movies really close and wonder how Finn got Poe's jacket? Well, we've got a whole story for you about it. I don't give a shit. How come C-3PO's arm is red? Do you want to know? Well, then buy our 18-issue limited C-3PO miniseries. It's going to tell you why C-3PO's arm is red. I don't care about that either. I don't care about C-3PO's arm. Hold on, I'll be right back. I'm going to, let me look at some super chats here. I got to take a break from this. It just hurts my head, man. These people, oh, I love comics so much. Marvel used to be so great. They used to be so great, guys. I think back to the 1980s, and I'm just like, what is going on? What is going on? Robin Eaton says, hail from England, Ave Caesar. Hello, Robin. Man of Sex says, is Gail a Winona Judd Fupa double? She does look a little like Winona Judd. Tickleson says, can someone explain why women can't have breasts anymore? I'm scared. Yeah, they don't like that. I think, it's interesting. There's these leftists, they kind of conflate women having large breasts with the male gaze. And it didn't used to be that way. Like, women used to just say things like, look, my breasts are the size they are. And, women can have big breasts and it's just natural, or small breasts, no breasts at all. That's just the way it is. But now they've kind of scaled back on the idea of large-chested women in comics because they just don't want, there's the assumption that men really like that still. Frankly, it's not 1988 anymore. I'm not quite sure that men care that much about gigantic breasts. I think that's not the issue. But in any case, Tarsik says Marvel has done this with Cap every time a Republican holds office. Look at the times he's changed his identity or felt betrayed by his government. You're so right about that. You're right about that. Yeah, in the 1980s, during Reagan and Bush, he just kind of he went off on his own. God, these people are annoying. Panda says, Samurai and Dinosaurs relaunched. Let's help them hit gold. Disney's been releasing a lot of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge info. This is manga country. Love you, EVS. Love you too. Eskimo no Phono says, I hope this is enough to keep your dog trimmed. Yeah. My new dog. It's not. I don't really have a new dog. I just showed Mike a picture of a poodle that looked exactly like a penis to annoy him. Count Falconer says, a female character whose hands get big would make any dude's junk look tiny. It has to be intentional to emasculate men. I never thought about that. That's interesting. That's a good theory. I think that's a good working theory. K. Brady says, how does this end? Marvel folds, Disney licenses out, and Zach writes a Punisher comic. The cycle is complete. Yeah, the funny thing is, people are always like, there's a fantasy among some fans that they're just like, if Marvel and DC fold and you have the opportunity to license one of their characters, which is ridiculous, but what would you choose? And it's like, none of them. If I wanted to draw those characters, I would be working there. I drew those characters and it was slave labor. You're working for someone else. I have no desire. A Ghost Rider is pretty cool, and I guess if I had to choose one, the answer is Ghost Rider. But I would just create my own flaming skull head, dude. I'd rather work on my own stuff. Working on your own stuff is ultimate freedom. It's ultimate satisfaction, especially after you've spent 20 years working on other people's stuff. And I know that might not make sense to you if your entire goal, if your dream is to one day draw Batman, but if you've already done it, the goal really complete and total happiness and serenity. Serenity is drawing your own stuff and owning it. That's what it's all about. Jay Taylor says, in Captain Marvel, a man will tell her to smile, and then she will beat him at something and smirk triumphantly. They will want to dunk on us. Yeah. I just put up a new video about that. Brie Larson, again, is talking about how it sucks to be a woman because part of the female experience is men telling her to smile. And I don't know if that's true or not, but I've been told to smile many times. And I'm not sure that it's always been by men. People just go, "What's wrong? How come your face looks like that?" And you go, "What?" They go, "Why don't you smile?" It's just like, yeah, they're trying to say, when you smile, you brighten things up. You brighten up the world. You make people feel better. It's an animal thing. It's all about the human race as a species, sending reassuring signals to each other and good vibes and stuff, good vibrations. Walking around like this because you're allowed to, because you have the power to, because you're a whammon. I guess you can do that if you want to. But what are you, a child? Why don't you participate in the joy of being a human being and interacting with other human beings? To deny that, to fight that, to argue against that is just hateful. It's just hatred. It's pure hate. Brett Favre says, if Marvel Comics goes down, their SJW employees will need a new host and probably try to infiltrate Comicsgate. We got to vet all new Comicsgaters carefully. Well, we will. We'll do our best. Ultimately, you guys are going to vet them. It's up to you. Comicsgate isn't something, it isn't a club, really. I mean, it kind of is becoming a club here, but it's not really a club. It's just anyone can say that they're Comicsgate, and it's up for you guys. It's up to you guys to decide who is and who isn't, really, and if you want to support them. Comicsgate is just a belief system, it's just a philosophy. And it's loose, Tarsik says, yeah, Fantastic Four 1 through 9 has 124 different issues, meaning 115 variant issues. That is criminal and predatory. I didn't know that. That is crazy. 9 issues and 124 different magazines with variants. Yeah. Kay Brady says Cebulski and Quesada should have done their jobs. Nasser Rabadi says, can you shill for Trixie Kane, Blood Reaper, please, Uncle E? Well, we'll see, Nasser. Kay Brady says, I'm sure in response to the sales issues, Marvel will introduce Star Wars cat variants next month. So don't worry, everyone. Yeah, the cat variants are coming. David Sutherland says, keep it the weight loss. Okay, I'm trying, Joe Lovett says, have some money for a doctor visit in case you fall again. Thank you, Joe. I told the story about how since I've been with Andrea, I've taken 3 nasty tumbles, maybe 4, but I can only really remember 3 now. CFan85 says, can you do a caricature of Brie Larson? Yeah, I could. I guess I could. I have no desire to. It's like all of my drawing right now is entirely about Cyberfrog. That's all I want to do is draw Cyberfrog. That's why I don't come on Mike's show. Mike's like, what are you afraid to draw? I'm like, I'm not expending any, I consider my drawing to be energy. It's like, I don't want to expend any energy on drawing something that isn't going to be in Cyberfrog right now. All of my spiritual creative energy is going into Cyberfrog. It's a book that will last forever. I can't say that often enough. I'm not out to do a periodical. I'm out to do the book that will last forever. My brother Noah said, is this the greatest thing you've ever done? And I said, look, if I'm capable of art, this is it. Normally I've just been doing entertainment. I've been doing, comic book fun, just adventure. But, and this is that, certainly. But, if I am capable of making an artistic statement, Cyberfrog is that artistic statement. Noah makes art all the time. That kid, everything that he does is about art. It seemed, all right, back to this. It seemed that Lucasfilm Story Group was making Poe's jacket almost a character unto itself. Yeah, again, this is what the books are about. If you're buying their Star Wars books, they're not telling really interesting stories about these characters. Somewhere along the lines, I don't know why this is happening, if this is kind of, if Disney Lucasfilm is enforcing this on Marvel, but the idea seems to be Fill in the blanks. Fill in the dull blanks between our movies. You know, it's like, oh, in this telling the tale, Poe reveals it was him who triggered Finn's ejector seat in the TIE fighter, something Finn thought that happened automatically. But when he tried to eject himself, his jacket was jamming the mechanism. God, that's so boring. Stories about Poe's jacket might be interesting to over-obsessive mothers, but it hardly qualifies as high adventure. Then the question of how Rey bested Luke during their lightsaber duel in The Last Jedi had to be addressed. So they came up with a comic book explanation. And as you can see, she didn't best him. He slipped. Bam, 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 ba-dum, bum. There you have it, Mary Sue fans. According to artist Michael Walsh and writer Gary Whitta, it's a minor slip that causes Luke Skywalker to end up on his back and not the all-powerful, rather hideous-looking Rey. But poor artwork and boring plot hole explanations could be forgiven if the larger stories are well written, and they aren't, thanks to Wacko. I am influencing the world. People are starting to use my words. Wacko. Thank you so much, man. I love it. I love when I see Wacko. I need to see Wackadoo. The next step is Wackadoo. My thing was calling SJWs weirdos. You know, because if you call an SJW a weirdo, they can't say that's racist, that's sexist, that's homophobic. No, you're just weirdos. It covers the spectrum and explains what the problem is. You're weird. Your obsessions are weird. You're a weirdo. Everybody knows what a weirdo is. And you can't call it an ist. And that's caught on pretty well. Hold on a second. I'll be right back. I'm getting a drink. I talk so much these days. No. You didn't hear any glugs. You didn't hear any glugs, guys. Wackadoo is not your thing. People are saying you didn't create wacko, wackadoo, weirdo, all this. No, it's not. It's not the words that I created. It's their usage. It's their usage. You have to use these words in context to kind of eliminate, to kind of describe what SJWs are, how they make people feel. You know, what it is to be a human being coming into contact with an SJW. And a lot of profanity comes to mind, you know, when you're trying to explain that to people. But when you can just call them weirdos or wackos, that really sums it all up. Everyone understands that, and they understand it too about themselves. They understand that. They know they're weirdos. They look in the mirror. They look at each other. I think looking at each other makes them uncomfortable. It's got to make them uncomfortable. It makes everyone uncomfortable. SJWs make people uncomfortable. They make people feel unsettled. They make people feel threatened and weird. You know? Why? I don't know. They have agenda. They're not real human beings. It's like what, you know, if you had you know, a body snatcher, if you had someone who had been body snatched working in your office, they'd make you feel uncomfortable because they're not normal people. All right, so look at this. There's the example of Cadet Solo being barked at by a shrieking harridan on the cover of one issue. Look at this. Have you seen this smirk? You got yeah. What's her name? You've got who's this Ghostbuster here? You've got this Ghostbuster yelling at a smirking. All you need to do is you got to put the red MAGA hat on his head here. Why would anybody buy this comic? Why would anybody buy this comic? This is beanislessness. You're exactly right. This is Leslie Jones yelling at the kid, the Covington kid. That's basically what it is. It's like everything is politics. Everything is stupid politics all the time. Imagine seeing this comic on the stand. Yeah, I want to see Leslie Jones screaming at a smirking Han Solo. Alden Ehrenreich Han Solo. Why do they do this? Why do they do this? Oh God. StarWars.com described the fantasy that feminists have had regarding Han Solo for 40 years. All right. Judging by the scenes, the bookend Han Solo Imperial Cadet #1, everyone's favorite Corellian, might be able to offer up a rationalization for every scrap of trouble he finds himself in. I can explain, but more often than not, the person in authority doesn't buy it. You can see how that might be a bit of a problem for Han Solo. Their married even it sucks, dude. Who wants to read that? What is this? Who is this for? I don't want to be him. I'm supposed to want to be Han Solo. I'm supposed to think he's a badass rogue. See a little bit of myself in him and want to be more like Han Solo. I don't want to be screamed at with Leslie Jones and her finger in my face. I don't want to be like this. Isn't comic books. It's not comic books, guys. Marvel, you've lost the plot. This is not what comic books are. It's not what they're meant to be. How hard is that to understand? You people are weird. You're weird. You don't know how to tell a story. You don't know how to tell an exciting story in which the title character, the lead character, Han Solo, Imperial Cadet, lead character is somebody who we can admire or want to be like or be amused by, go on an adventure with. It's just stupid. It's just stupid. There may even be an inverted NPC allegory in that particular issue. Quote, the mental games are almost as bad as the physical trials at the Karida Academy. Was it Karida? Each cadet is stripped of his or her name, given an operating number, and must do well enough in training to earn the right to their name back. Anytime Han tries to insist on being referred to like an actual person, he's punished. That's totally SJW NPC. StarWars.com couldn't help but take a swipe at the U.S. Armed Forces in their deeply stupid attempt to equate the men and women in uniform with the evil Empire. Quote, after all, the Empire's commission for the preservation of the New Order had been an excellent propaganda division that made becoming a stormtrooper or a TIE pilot seem like it was the right thing to do, and even a little glamorous. Can you imagine this? The way they're talking about you, like, I mean, there are some... Man, there's some people who have served in the military in this audience. They're mocking you. Excellent propaganda division that made becoming a stormtrooper or TIE pilot seem like it was the right thing to do. And even a little glamorous. Explore new worlds, learn valuable skills. The advertisements promised stretching and coaching the truth in the best way possible. That's you guys. You're all suckers. Those of you who served in the military, you got suckered in by propaganda. Boomstick 1911, thanks for $10, says, hey EVS, looking for some advice. Have you ever felt discouraged by the state of the world around you? If so, how do you find the motivation to keep drawing and chasing your goals against the odds? Yeah, obviously, it's hard not to feel a little discouraged by the state of the world. What do? I have YouTube. I have you guys. We have each other. That's how we find the motivation to keep drawing. I've come to the realization that I don't care what the comic book industry is doing right now. I've written them off. I just think they're making mistakes, and there's no reason to be trying to appease an industry or a group of people or a community that is just so hell-bent on failure. I want to succeed, Boomstick. So do you, I think. And I think it's important then to create our own little place, our own world in which we can succeed. We can do that here. There are more of us than there are of them. We can build things up. It's just what all of these institutions that have already been built up and established over the course of decades and decades already exist, and they've been taken over by SJWs. They did that on purpose. They took these built up, already powerful platforms, and they're running them into the ground and gatekeeping people out of them. Well, that's fine. We don't need to be there. We can build up something from the ground up, and we can do that together. That's what I want to do. I wake up every day happy, blessed, excited to be a part of this, excited about Comicsgate, excited about the possibilities, and feeling like we can conquer the world, feeling like we can do it. There's no limit. So I don't feel like I don't know. I feel happy and positive, and I think that's the important thing to do. I think staying, spending some healthy time with Comics Gators in this family will also help your outlook. It'll help your mindset. You'll realize you're not alone at all, and you can succeed. GRP Pulse says, I just tweeted you the Han Solo cover with the MAGA hat. Great. That belongs on Twitter. It's funny. Antonio Cardina says, please support Spanish artist Canales. Okay. How do we support him? For right now, you can support Mike S. Miller's The Meg and Six Gun Samurai. Wow, he's doing pretty good. Deal with the Devil. The link for this campaign is in the description. You can choose from 3 different books by Mike S. Miller, and that will be, I think you'll like them. I would choose The Meg, honestly. Other people like Six Gun Samurai. I'm sorry, I like sharks. All right, so another such feminist empowerment fantasy came in the form of Leia. What is going on with Star Wars? I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but these lunatics, look at this. Princess Leia is punching all the men in the face over and over again. It's crazy. Look at this. I don't want to see this. And I showed you guys last week the sequence in the new animated series where they're animating Star Wars: A New Hope, and that scene where they're on Luke and Leia during the rescue are being chased by stormtroopers. They find themselves at a point with a disabled bridge because Luke blasts the controls, and they can't get a bridge across, and there are stormtroopers on the other side, and Luke kind of pulls out a string, a rope to swing on, makes a grappling hook, and swings Leia across to the other side. Well, in the animated version, Leia gets frustrated with Luke as he tangles himself up in the rope. She pushes him in the face, puts her hand on his face, and pushes him hard against the wall. Embarrassing, while Luke is just a goofball and just got, oh my God, this stupid boy. Pulls his gun away and successfully blasts away stormtroopers like a pro. Well, if you could do that, why did you need to be rescued in the first place? And then she kicks Chewbacca in the balls. It's the weirdest thing. So we've got feminists, we've got crazy left-wingers taking over Star Wars and creating images like this. These two people love each other. By the way, it's a great drawing. I do have to say, I love the drawing, but boy, is this evil. It's absolutely evil. Feminist Marvel writers imagine that this silliness represents female empowerment, domestic abuse, female empowerment, punching men in the face, kicking Wookiees in the scrotum, pushing Luke Skywalker in the face, physical abuse, female empowerment. This was in keeping with the new spirit of misandry and the Disney Star Wars, which also saw, let's click this link. This is unreal right here. You won't believe this. Look at Leia here. Look at this. Look at her treating Luke Skywalker with utter contempt. Look at his goofy face as he gets punched. He gets totally cucked. Look at him all tangled up in the rope. So Leia can't be heroic without, look at this, without beating the living crap. Oh. Oh man. I mean, there's some perverse stuff going on. Some people think it's hot in the chat. Men in refrigerators. Yeah, that's common too. Well, 1,373 people on a Saturday morning. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Comic Artist Pro Secrets. Good to have you in here. It's good to have you in here. Other issues of the comic book transform Han Solo from a man who didn't trust anyone except his Wookiee co-pilot to a dunderhead that wouldn't leave his beloved ship in the care of a parking valet whom he just met, or that would leave his ship. And then the parking valet steals it and flies it around. Many fans of The Force Awakens wondered how Han could have lost the Millennium Falcon. One might think that either Han loved the ship so much that it would never leave his hands, or he might have owned several ships over his lifetime, just as people own many cars. Well, a page from the recent comic book helped explain that matter in typical Disney fashion. In genuine canon, Han Solo is a cynic who doesn't trust anyone except for Chewbacca, and then only because Chewie owes him a life debt. But in Disney canon, Han mindlessly hands over the Falcon to a valet who steals it and flies away. This is how Han Solo lost the Millennium Falcon. This goofball stole it. Even worse than the lackluster material were the antics coming from new comic book creators. And we've seen all this. This is just fascinating. The debate over the blatant stupidity of the Rose Tico character. Hey, wait a second. Was heating up back then. The Real Comic Book Gamer articulated an effective argument against a comment made by intellectual void Heather Antos. In which she stated, I remember when Heather did this. She was still the editor of Star Wars over at Marvel. She's the one who kind of ran the books into the ground. But she said that Rose Tico was a better character than Boba Fett. Adult Marvel editors responded with adolescent hyperbole. And this kid's great, man. Dylan is awesome. The Real Comic Book Gamer. What a great channel. Heather Antos. It's just like, it's all a joke. Everything's a joke. Hey, what can we say to really piss people off today? How can we troll people? Oh, I know. We're going to say Rose Tico, who is probably one of the worst characters ever created in Star Wars, is better than the beloved, mysterious, awesome, like kind of male fantasy character Boba Fett. And then we're going to smirk about it. Wait, let me get that. Take that, you incels. Was that good or not? What's his channel? His channel is called Real Comic Book Gamer. Real Comic Book Gamer. The Real Comic Book Gamer. That's right here. He's awesome. Douglas Ernst would later comment on the silliness of the Marvel editors and on Human Klaxon Geek Girl Diva. You've seen my video about Geek Girl Diva. Oh my God, dude. That woman is nuts. It's like these people, she's like 50 years old and looks like she's been living under a truck most of her life. And it's just like they have these avatars of themselves as cute little whimsical girlies. It's not what they look like. The most famous incident came in October of 2018. This is my favorite thing that's ever happened on Twitter. When unhinged crank Chuck Wendig announced on Twitter that he'd been fired from Marvel for his notorious inability to control his own online behavior. Yeah, I must have made 6 videos about Chuck Wendig. He was just the gift, and he still is the gift that keeps on giving. This is what happens. I mean, this is just the poison of social justice. The poison of far left extremism and what it does to you. Hollywood Reporter wrote, Chuck Wendig, the New York Times bestselling author of the Star Wars Aftermath series of novels, has been fired by Marvel Entertainment, he said on Twitter Friday. That leaves the future of numerous previously announced Star Wars projects, which Wendig was attached to uncertain. Makes him uncertain as a result. In a series of tweets, Wendig, who is working on both the 5-issue Shadow of Vader miniseries and an additional, currently unannounced Star Wars series for the publisher, revealed that he had been fired by Marvel in the middle of his work on the titles because, in his words, of the negativity and vulgarity that my tweets bring. Seriously, that's what Mark Panicha, the editor, said. It was too much vulgarity, too much negativity on my part. This was a fascinating turn of phrase here. This is why I'm amazed by Chuck Wendig. Hey, why were you fired? Well, let me do a couple things here in a tweet. I'll explain why I was fired. I'm going to first accuse the people who respond to my tweets. I'm going to lie and say that it's because of the negativity and vulgarity that my tweets bring, that they bring. So he's out there saying, you know, sunshine, lollipops, and blah, blah. And then fans are just like, fuck you. And that's why, you know, allegedly that's why he was fired. Then Chuck Wendig goes on to name his editor by name. Most people don't know like who edits what. I mean, you can easily find out by opening up a comic book. You can, you know, it would be hard to say if you said I was fired from Marvel. Well, who fired you? Like, no, there's no reason anybody would know that except that Chuck Wendig actually name dropped his editor, causing his editor to actually receive some rather nasty abuse and harassment, which was entirely Chuck Wendig's intent. There's no reason. There was no reason to say that. So just say Marvel Editorial fired me. Marvel Editorial. And then he tells the truth here. He goes, it was too much vulgarity, too much negativity on my part. This is why Chuck Wendig was fired. Why? Because he couldn't control himself during the, what was it? What was he upset about? I can't remember now. Some political thing. Chuck Wackadoo. Bounding into Comics wrote Star Wars novelist and comic book writer Chuck Wendig announced that Marvel fired him after they just announced he would be writing the Shadow of the Vader series. And it was like 2 weeks later he was fired. It was amazing. We were like, oh no, Chuck Wendig's writing more Darth Vader. His stuff is so awful. And then 2 weeks later, oh yeah, Brett Kavanaugh. He was freaking out over Brett Kavanaugh being appointed. I mean, just control yourself. I can't, he's out there saying crazy stuff. And Marvel just finally had enough of it. I mean, Chuck was unique in his vulgarity. Most NPCs and SJWs can get away with it, with being far leftist wackadoos on social media. But Chuck took it too far. He told people to eat shit covered boots. I mean, he called people F necks, F dash 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 necks. We still don't know what an F neck is. Sounds cool though. Bounding into Comics says Star Wars novelist, comic book writer Chuck Wendig announced that Marvel fired him after they just announced he'd be writing Shadow of Vader. And then we've got Brian Young here, Marvel writer Brian Young, who's displaying his nipples for some reason. Keep your clothes on, Brian. Look at this guy. Brian was discovered to have engaged in an online sex chat with underage teenagers. We did a whole series of videos about that called SJW Star Wars fandom sex scandal. A lot of it was about Brian Young and his online sex chat with underage fans, and was caught lying about various YouTube personalities and articles he had written for Sci-Fi Wires. Brian Young is a pretty noxious human being, I have to say. Talking sex with teenies, and then writing articles, vengeful articles in which he lies about geeks and gamers. Fans also had Lucasfilm personalities like Joe Quinones and Geek Girl Diva and Chuck Wendig lecturing customers about how they aren't customers. They always do that. They go, "You're not a customer. You're not a customer." See what I mean? The perp here matches Ethan Van Sciver's composite sketch. This must be Joe Quinones. They all look like this. Guys, when I tell you, this is why you guys come to this channel, because I enlighten you, I inform you. They all look like this. Every single soy boy looks exactly like this. I don't know what to say, but it is true. If you just hand this to the cops. If you were sexually assaulted, hand this to the cops, and I'm going to be right. It's going to be, but the cops will be like, yeah, but this is every single soy boy in the world. And you're going to have to say, yeah, that's true. I don't know. They all look like this. And they all have this kind of ironic look on their face. Surprise. This kind of meekness, the pseudo meekness that says, I'd never sexually abused you. I'm too silly. I'm a silly little boy man. I'm a boy man. I'm a silly boy man I'm too cute. I'm harmless. I'd never rape you. Harmless. Harmless. Ladies, if you see these people, run. Just run. I mean, not that you wouldn't anyway. Women are not into this. Women aren't into this. Yeah. Let me be sweet to you. No, they don't do that, though. The thing about it, let me be sweet to you is an actual, it's embarrassing, but I mean, that's a heterosexual attempt to actually be honest with women. Say what you want to say about Vic Mignogna and the fact that he, he was trying to get around a little bit. At least he was honest with the women. He's pretty honest with these women that he tried to get back to his hotel room. What's wrong with saying, I want to have sex with you? What exactly is wrong with that? When you mean it and you've taken them out to dinner, be honest with women. I respect that. I don't respect the whole thing of, I'm an ally. I'm a feminist ally. I believe in women, respecting women. And I respect you, and I just want to be your friend. Here's what we'll do. We'll become friends first. We'll lay on your bed on our tummies together with our feet up behind us. We'll be giggling about boys. And then I'm going to try to sexually assault you. Right? When I've led you to believe that I'm your friend. That's when I'm going to sexually assault you. That's who these guys are. I don't respect that at all. Not at all. Joe concocted some very strict guidelines for people who seek the privilege of purchasing his art. So if you want to buy his art, you have to follow these rules. All right. So beginning a campaign to remake Toxic Fandom. Who's with me? Says Joe. Joe, nobody's with you. Nobody's with you. That's my prediction. New fans. This is what you have to do if you're a new fan. All right. Respect artistic integrity. Realize not all art is to be catered to their interest. Believe it is inherently impossible to know the true direction of a creative work, given they are not the creator of that work. Respects and is unthreatened by women and people of color. Thanks, Joe. And then he goes on, is unafraid of and welcomes growth. Welcomes growth. I don't know. You know, some growths need to be removed surgically. Delights in their preconceptions being challenged. And then finally, is not insufferable. Oh my God. Is not insufferable. Do not be insufferable, please. Delight in growth. Ladies, delight in my growth, please. Is culturally responsible to make certain that the female gender is equally represented. Enter Shauna O'Neill, Geek Girl Diva, who writes for StarWars.com. And there's Geek Girl Diva. Itchy points out that, like Ray, she probably doesn't really have any training with a lightsaber. Yeah. She too believes that a customer is not a customer. They don't like this. When you say to them, like, you have to respect the customer because these people are, this is not art. I know you all think that, like, you working in mainstream comics is the same as you being like an artist. Strictly not true. You are kind of producing a product. You're producing a commercial product for a large mass of people who expect it to be a certain way. Sorry, I know you're a great chef, but you work at Burger King. I know you have a lot of ideas of your own, but currently you're working at Taco Bell. They'll have it their way. They are the customers. And by the way, it is for them. Like it should be for everyone. The Big Mac better be for everyone, because if it isn't, time to cancel the Big Mac. Time to cancel the Big Mac. I hate this sandwich. It made me projectile vomit. Well, maybe that sandwich wasn't for you. Did you ever think of that? Did you ever think that that hamburger might not have been made for you? It might have been made for a POC, person of color. No, you didn't think that, did you? Bigot. 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 Sometimes you know what? Sometimes I move myself. Sometimes I'm like, when I'm into this, when I'm giving a lecture, like I'm overwhelmed by these amazing points that I'm making about Taco Bell. The customer is always wrong. You are not a customer. Oh, I'm sorry. This is Geek Girl Diva. I actually have a voice for Geek Girl Diva. Can I do it right now? All right. This is I'm going to do this voice. Ready? You're not a customer of either Lucasfilm or Star Wars. You may be a customer of Hasbro or Del Rey or any number of licensees, but buying a movie ticket doesn't make you a customer unless it's of the theater you bought the ticket from. You do not own Lucasfilm Limited or the Star Wars franchise. Likewise, you do not deserve your own personal, accountable treatment or behaviors from anyone at Lucasfilm Limited, associated with Lucasfilm Limited, or otherwise employed by Lucasfilm Limited. They don't owe you anything because they work somewhere that makes something that you think should be made differently. You are entitled to your opinion, sure, but so is anyone at Lucasfilm Limited. If Lucasfilm Limited has an issue with their behavior, they'll correct it. It's not your job or your place to tell them how they should behave. They don't work for you. Stop acting like they do. Thank you. And yub. Geek Girl Diva. P.S. Maybe I feel this way because Star Wars has always felt like a gift to me. It's something I get to enjoy. It's a world I get to play in. That world could end at any time, and it's not mine. So I'm always happy when I get more, even if I'm not in love with all of it. Geek Girl Diva, June 23rd, 2018. Whew. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I'm getting a standing ovation from my audience right now that's pretty impressed with my voice acting skills. I wonder if there are any openings in anime for a voice actor. Are there any openings? Unlimited power, Kang Lobster. It's from me to you. Yeah. That's how I feet. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Appreciate it. I like the applause. I do. Soy Cot, Soy Low. That's a great looking t-shirt created by me. That is, of course, Chuck Wendig, Soy Face, Soylent Grin. I don't know why they do this. I would never do this. I would never do this. I would never make that face for a photograph. Oh, so sad. Oh, the Chuck Wendig voice. Writers are not your dancing monkeys. We do not create products. You are not our customers. Oh my God, I got to do the Chuck Wendig thing. Welcome to my TED Talk. Oh, can I do this? I can do this. I can. It's hard. It's like switching gears from Geek Girl Diva to Chuck Wendig is tough, but I can do it. I say this because I am now harangued on the daily by folks who want me to conform to some preconceived notion or predetermined activity based on my role and their relationship to me in that role. Meaning they want me to dance, monkey dance. This comes in a lot of forms. It comes here on Twitter. Yesterday, I failed to answer someone's question about something and they tweeted at me again. You didn't answer my question. And it's like, no, I didn't. I can't reply to everything. Twitter is a fast river. I miss shit. I mean, Jesus Christ. If you're Pat Rothfuss or GRRM, who was that? That's George R.R. Martin. Or anybody writing a legacy series, you can't tweet, had breakfast with a friend, without 100 rando Calrissians swanning up and demanding that you cease frivolity and write that book, Jim. When he talks in caps. Then you get those very special friends, the ones who don't want you to say anything, gasp, untoward, vulgarity with which they disagree with, or in other words, shutter political opinions. Spoiler, wanting authors and books to be apolitical is itself a political opinion and actually means you want them instead to espouse political opinions that align so neatly with yours that you're a fish who doesn't realize he's swimming in water. The water is even a thing. God, these people just go on and on and on. There's more. I can't, you know what? Like a tweet thread to me is 3 tweets. I don't have that much to say to these people. I don't have that much to say. I had 3 tweets and I'm done. Writers and artists are not really in the customer service business. We do not cater to your needs. That cannot be how this relationship works because we don't make widgets and dongles. We don't make dongles. We don't make products. Products are a thing that you judge by how well it does the thing is supposed to do. If a coffee maker sprays scalding cat urine in your face, I think you have a pretty good case to complain, as it's failed in its essential task. Further, services are a thing you judge by how well the task you need gets completed. If you hire a plumber and he blows up my toilet with a quarter stick of dynamite, I'm going to be pissed. I won't pay him. I'll complain. But a book, or a painting or a movie or whatever, isn't a thing with a singular task. And those who come to that story with a binary expectation are likely to be disappointed. It's why I resist suggesting that we create content, because content is snugly adjacent to product. And I recognize here there is a little discomfort when it comes to things like, say, games, which are both creations of art, but also products that are meant to work. But that balance is essential, as is our view of art is subject. God damn, Chuck, shut the You broke me, Chuck. You broke me, dude. Oh my God, my fucking head. Oh, this stream just got demonetized. I can't take it. Oh, these people are. Oh, how much Christian charity does one person possess? I don't know how to tolerate this. These people are completely insufferable. They are contemptuous. monsters, arrogant, stupid. Oh, good Lord. I got to get through this, though. Call 911. Seriously, I am. Man down. You're right. All right. All right, ready. Just take a minute here. In with anger, out with love. Peace. Peace. All right, back to Chuck Wendig. Whew. The books I write are not meant to balance your table or swat flies or bludgeon mooses. They are containers for stories, and stories are themselves not things you can say work or don't work universally. It's not a plug and play. It's not a narrative with a clear objective. You are not my customer. You are, I hope, my audience. Now that doesn't God damn you, Chuck. Now that doesn't have to be true. You know what? It's like climbing a mountain, and every time you think you've reached the summit, you look up and you like, I don't know how you missed it, but there's another 20 feet to go. You know what I mean? Just straight up in the air. Snow and ice, treachery. Now that doesn't have to be true, and it's okay if you're not. It's okay not to like things. It's okay not to like me or my books or the things I like or the things I say. In fact, that's what I expected of you, to have a wild, untamed jungle of opinions. You are free to be my audience at any time and free to get off the ride at any time. Unless you're a diehard Trump fan, at which point you're no fan of mine, and I hope my book learns to bite off your fucking fingers. See what I did there? I had an opinion. Controversial one, maybe. And you would be free to say, oh my, oh no, poo-poo to that pitfall. And then you can step off my story trolley, ding, ding, and go about your day. But I don't know you squat. Our relationship can just be over. Oh, God. Never ends. It never ends, dude. It doesn't end with Chuck Wendig. Do you understand? This is why he got fired. This is why Marvel fired him. It doesn't end. The abusive stupidity doesn't end. Chuck talking to himself, letting you know exactly what he owes you as the employee of Marvel Comics, as someone who's been hired to entertain you, to meet your needs, to win your $5. Chuck is telling you where you stand. The arrogance of this. The reverse is also true. I don't know you, and you don't know me. Our relationship is what we make it. You don't owe me a review or a kind word or anything. This is like him negotiating with his dominatrix. That's what this is, man. Like, he's on all fours with a ball gag that's about to go in his mouth. Some horrible geek girl diva's got her foot on his back with a stiletto heel. Oh, it's disgusting. We can do that. We can chat. I try to be open here and accessible. But that's a cookie when you bought a cake. What I will do and continue to do is write the best stories I can, and in as timely a fashion as I can manage. And I hope you're into that. And we can talk and have a good time, and I'll be accessible as I can within the limits of my sanity. That's likely true of most of the writers here to a varying degree. But we are not. Oh my God. I'm literally going to throw up. We are not your dancing monkeys. I mean, we're at least the galloping unicorn. Come on. Right? It's the end. We did it. We did it. It ended with a joke. Galloping unicorn. Galloping unicorn. We're at least the galloping unicorn. Come on. We did it, guys. Congratulations. We got through a Chuck Wendig monologue together. And, you know, look, I have a splitting headache. But we did it. We did it together. Do you understand? You understand that is the situation. That is what we're dealing with right now. Now I'm take a minute. We're talking about the collapse of Marvel Comics. We're talking about the end of Marvel Comics, but just within this one little section, this one little microcosm, okay? This is about the Marvel Comics section of or the Star Wars section of Marvel Comics. Just Star Wars comic books themselves. Star Wars comics themselves are being run by idiots and jackasses like this, okay? They're running them into the ground. We started out initially with a Star Wars comic book in 2015 that sold 1 million copies. That is prosperity that feeds families. And slowly, over the course of about 3 or 4 years, Marvel Comics hired a bunch of SJW idiots like Chuck Wendig who drove those sales, that prosperity, down into the ground. And they did it with the help of Lucasfilm and the idiots over at Star Wars itself, who actually drove the prosperity of The Force Awakens in 2015 with its $2.3 billion box office receipts down to where we are right now. The last Star Wars movie, Solo, A Soy Wars Story, lost $80 million at the box office. That is what SJWs do. They destroy prosperity and they don't shut up. They do not shut up. Chuck Wendig will not shut his mouth. He's here to lecture you as he fails on your behalf, as he fails for his employers, as he fails for you, the customers. He's here to lecture you about what you can expect from him and why you need to STFU or else you'll get BTFO'd. That's what Chuck Wendig is here to do, and he is not unique. I mean, he is uniquely idiotic, I admit, but he is one of a million NPCs. We call them NPCs because they're all exactly the same. They're all exactly like this. Do not hire them. I beg of you. 1,542 people watching right now on a Saturday morning. Please, if you take one thing from what I'm saying right now, do not hire an SJW if you are a business owner. Don't hire them. This is their attitude. They're all exactly like this. They will sink your business if it's the last thing that they do. And they're going to feel pretty good about it while they're doing it. Pretty good. Because he's a galloping unicorn. Come on. You understand? This is what SJWs do, by the way. They cover the lower half of their face. I don't know why they do it. I pointed this out. They take pictures of themselves and they cover the lower halves of their face. This is Bill Sienkiewicz. Bill forgot his fanboy tears mug at home. That's right. Ichibaka is on it, man. Ichibaka completely understands. Yeah, because ordinarily you would cover the lower half of your face with a fanboy tears mug, you know. I don't know why they do this. I really don't, but I'm going to actually do a series of videos. It's like, it'll be called something like shit SJWs do, but I'll use like, you know, I won't use the actual word, or I'll try to find a different way to phrase it. But I got to do a series of videos. These people are all exactly the same. They behave the same. They do the same things. And I don't know if it's from nature or nurture. I'm not really sure. Combination of both. But I should do these videos where each video actually takes one thing and talks about it for 5 minutes, just so that you know what to expect. You should be on Twitter looking at these SJWs and going, yeah, Ethan said they were going to do that. You know, Ethan said that they use the word shitty all the time to describe people. Ethan said that. Like, it's weird. Ethan's right. Like, wait, no normal person I've ever encountered will say, you're just a shitty person. No normal person I've ever spoken to has ever said that before. And yet every single SJW says that. Every single one. And they say it all the time. You're just a shitty person doing shitty things. Why? I don't know. But that is what they do. And I feel like I need to instruct you. I feel like I need to actually point this stuff out. And of course, I did point out that SJW men do, and women do it too to a lesser extent, but men do it especially. They take pictures of themselves covering the lower half of their face. They'll do it with a computer monitor. They'll do it with their hand. They'll do it with an Antifa scarf. And they'll do it with a SJW or a Fanboy Tears mug. They'll do it in any different number of ways, but they all do it. And Ichibaka has picked up on that. He's found that to be true. So there was also a Star Wars Marvel artist, Bill Sienkiewicz, who had drawn GOP personalities against bullseyes, and then he publicly lied about having done it. After the election, Bill Sienkiewicz, a guy who I kind of used to like a lot, you know, we tried to get him to do a commission of Frank Sinatra and Ava Gardner, like a really nice painting, because we have their autographs, you know, and we want to mount them with something that's worthwhile. We're big fans of Frank and Ava in this house. Asked him to do it, you know. He said he'd do it for $5,000. He'd get us a sketch. He never did it, you know. But he did spend an awful lot of time drawing GOP personalities, violent caricatures of GOP personalities, recommending that people punch them. Comic book artist Bill Malin, that's John Malin. John Malin, you want to correct that, Itchy. Posted on Twitter. Bill is a villain because he draws real-life people's heads in bullseyes when he disagrees with them. Wow, John Malin called him a villain, to which Bill Sienkiewicz replied, talk about fake news. You're not only 100% wrong, you're actively lying to try to make your point and failing to do so either truthfully or coherently on all counts. You child, says Bill. But a 10-second Google search easily turned up multiple articles. Multiple. These are all, as you can see, these are all drawings done by Bill Sienkiewicz, the most punchable faces of 2017, and they're all against bullseyes. In other words, what do you do with a bullseye? Pretty sure you use a gun on a bullseye. Right here, we've got Sarah Huckabee Sanders, absolutely, Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump, Stephen Miller. A lot of nice portraits of Barack Obama, though. They're not punchable, I guess. I guess those are not punchable. You know, yeah, it wasn't a lie. Comics artist Bill Sienkiewicz saves us the trouble of wondering if he's calling for violence when he caricatures those he's frustrated with this year against the backdrop of a shooting target. He also helpfully labels the collection with text the most punchable faces of 2017. Among the pictures he's tweeted on social media are Fox News pundits Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity and FCC chairman Ajit Pai. Now here's Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Very nice caricature, cruel, but good. And I guess like if you were to get a perfect score, you'd be shooting her right through the mouth. I don't know if that's you know, I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. I don't know why you'd be shooting her through the mouth for a bullseye. Is that something that we want to say about women? I'm not sure. I guess you can say it about some women. You know, obviously her mouth is accentuated here. He's made that big. He's made that much bigger. Bullseyes right through the mouth of this woman who is a spokesperson for the White House, which is not an easy position to get. It requires that you be pretty smart, pretty quick on your feet, be pretty brilliant, and have very thick skin. So shoot her through the mouth, obviously. At one point, calls for unionizing the comic book industry, which may have caught the eyes of Disney CEOs. Daily Beast wrote, behind the veil of billion-dollar movie franchises and rotating comic book series, creators often struggle with low pay, no labor protections, and harassment, and no one seems to care. And this is a history of how, yeah, comic book artists and creators have been exploited over the years. Last month, oh, poor Chuck Wendig, best-selling author of licensed Star Wars novel Aftermath and its sequel, stood before a crowd at New York City Comic-Con and announced he'd be working on Shadow of Vader, a miniseries from Marvel Comics. A week later, on October 12th, Wendig made another announcement. He'd been fired. And the reason given, Chuck lied about it, but then he told the truth about it right at the end. Initially, he made it seem like it was fans harassing him. No, we've all read that tweet thread together. We just read one tweet thread. And by the way, that was just a boring and arrogant tweet thread. It was not the vulgarity for which Chuck Wendig became known. It became kind of infamous. Yeah. While Marvel had no official comment, a source close to the company said that the decision to fire him was made by Marvel editorial and that the decision to drop Wendig was made solely on the basis of his public comments. Nonetheless, the decision provoked an outcry on social media. Many drew comparisons to other public figures targeted by harassment campaigns. Oh, like Ethan Van Sciver? Oh, no, not like me. Like James Gunn. And Sam Sater, who was fired and then rehired over an 8-year-old tweet. Oh, so not me. Nobody brought me up. I see. No, just James Gunn. There's no balance between the interests of comics publishing employers and freelancers with those of publishers. The power dynamic is just completely one-sided, Didden said. There's really no one to advocate for comics creators in situations like this. While you occasionally see people like Chelsea Kane or Chuck Wendig speaking up, oh, and Ethan Van Sciver, I happen to speak up about this harassment in comics every day. just against the people that you're speaking about. They're only in a position to do so because they largely make their living outside of comics, and thus don't need to play by the industry's rules if they don't want to. That sounds like me. It sounds like me. Without job security or health benefits, freelancers are a single ill-judged tweet and a run of bad luck away from needing the help of Hero Initiative. Oh, man. Some of these people are such monsters. I mean, all you can really do, they're really awful, awful people who like devote their lives to making Republicans, people who come out against SJWism and comics, make their lives hell. Hate on Comicsgate, say horrible things about comic skaters all day long. Realize that they are just one run of bad luck and a single ill-judged tweet away from, needing the help of Hero Initiative, for which, I don't know, you can donate. They can, I don't know. Most of them are just a step away from eating cat food anyway, honestly. Under circumstances like that, a vague social media policy isn't just a headache. It's one more trap in a deeply financially insecure profession. Excuse me. Let me get a drink. How we doing in the chat, everyone? Time to go buy 90s comics, says Man 30. Hey, the 90s comics were great. They're really fun. I mean, you can say what you want about them, but they were sexy, exciting, violent, fun. And that's just what people want. They just wanted escapism. I'm just amazed that some lawyer or some union hasn't come in because it's crazy. Chelsea Kane told the Daily Beast in September, and they're all such adorable comic geeks. And they've all been doing this since they were 17, and they've never had any other kind of job. And I think they really don't realize how insane it is. No, fix that. They're insane. And that's the thing. It is true. These comic book artists and writers are deeply stupid. Many of them deeply stupid, and don't realize how the real world actually operates or works. They live in little bubbles, little social bubbles, little political bubbles, and it's all going to pop. I mean, this is just, we've been warning them now for years. This is all going to pop. We're watching this pop right now. Things are so desperate now that Marvel will be pulling a stunt by publishing issue 108 in the original Expanded Universe Marvel run in an effort to woo older fans that have left the franchise and ceased purchasing comic books. After waiting patiently for 33 years, the original Star Wars comic series is getting a new issue, with Marvel Comics releasing Star Wars 108 one-shot. Get the first details on the exciting comic below as it hits shelves on May 29th. Boy, that looks Jack Kirby-ish. Yet, after all these pervasive problems, some still doubt that Disney will ever shut down Marvel Comics and are skeptical that the comic book industry is in trouble at all. Yeah, well, if you talk to SJWs, they're like, it's fine. It's fine. In the Bleeding Cool article mentioned above, the following statements are made in the comments section. And you got a lot of comments here, people just saying, no way. This is just, come on. Comics have been here my whole life. They've been here since the 1930s. What are you, crazy? Marvel shutting down publishing? Please. It's clickbait. Indeed, as per phase 15 of Geekergate, okay, this is how SJWs invade and destroy. We've got it all mapped out here. Phase 15, many SJWs commonly claim that their particular psychotic brand of politics has always been in comic books from the very beginning and therefore cannot be the reason that sales are taking the deep dive, despite the universal hashtag get woke, go broke mandate. And it is absolutely true. They will do this. They go, hey, it's always... Maybe you haven't noticed, incels, but comic books have always been SJW. Batman is an SJW. No, Batman is not an SJW, you jackasses. If Batman ran into a burning building and that was full of people, he would not sit there and pull out the ones who lacked privilege the most out first. That's not what Batman does. That's what a social justice warrior would do. Social justice warriors see the world entirely based on skin color, on disability, on sexual preference, and on gender, and they've arranged the world in a pyramid hierarchy based on who has the most privilege and who has the least privilege, and therefore who needs the most societal help versus who needs the least societal help. And that is not a heroic thing. That there's nothing heroic about that. That is cult-like weirdo thinking Batman is not a social justice warrior. Superman is not a social justice warrior. No real superhero is a social justice warrior. It is a villainous, racist, bigoted philosophy that needs to be stamped out as soon as possible. It is ruining the comic book industry. It threatens to ruin all prosperity wherever it emerges. The idea that superheroes are anything like you clowns on Twitter, that they share the same goals as you, that they use the same methods, that they believe what you believe is outrageous. Fuck you. Get your garbage philosophy out of my entertainment and out of my life, out of the lives of normal people all over the place who don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear your weird cult-like belief system, and they don't want to have to pay for it. There is nothing heroic about social justice and social justice warriorism. There's nothing heroic about it. It's racist. It's bigoted. It groups people based on shallow surface level traits all into the same box as having the same concerns because of the color of their skin. No rational person agrees with that. Nobody agrees with that. We are all individuals that have faced our own trials and tribulations, have our own strengths and weaknesses, our own belief systems, our own hearts, goals, and minds, based on factors far too complicated to be summed up by whether or not we're gay or straight or white or black or male or female. That is why you fail. That is why Get Woke, Go Broke is so important. It's so fun. It's such a fun slogan because it's true. Because it's true. So until you people wake up, most of you are white anyway. Most of these people who espouse social justice warriorism are white. You activists, stop condescending to, stop patronizing people who look differently than you because you bear an abundance of white guilt, which made you liberals and made that metastasize into something disgusting called being a social justice warrior, trying to appeal to people who look different than you on the surface, and start trying to find people's hearts. Start trying to meet people where they actually are in their own personal, unique, individual experience and their own beliefs. How do you feel about things? What do you believe in? What do you like? What do you want? Instead of, you're black, you want this, you're like this. Or even worse, which is something kind of weird that SJWs do, you're black, so we're going to give you role models that behave like this because this is what we want you to be. These characters that these people create, the black male characters that SJWs, that white SJWs create, that's what white people want you to be, not what you are. That's what white SJWs want you to be like. Harmless. It's awful, awful, awful people. And people really do need to wake up to this. This is racism. Social justice warriors are racist. You in my audience, 1,500, almost 1,600 people watching now, big percentage of which are people of color, are women, are gay. Stop letting these people tell you who you are. Stop letting these people tell you where you align, what you believe, what you should feel, what you should want. Stop letting these weirdos instruct you, define you, shape you, lie to you. Start asserting yourselves, as you do. I know you're here. You're here in this audience. You do that. You do assert yourselves. You are unique. How many times have I said on Twitter, I've said, look, Comicsgate is made up of people of color. Of course it is. It's made up of people of color, of women, of gays, of trans, of, disabled people, of all kinds of people. And of course, everyone is welcome. Everyone is equal here. We don't really take notice of those things. It just is a matter of like, are you having fun? Are you joining us? Do you like what we're saying? Do you believe what we believe? Are you enjoying our ideas and our comics? Are you enjoying our videos? Are you having fun in this hobby? And the answer is yes. And that's why Comicsgate is growing. And that's why the comic book industry is shrinking. That's why. You're all welcome here. We love you all. You're all welcome here. Differences of opinion are welcome here. We're listening. We listen to each other. We go, maybe we were wrong about that. Maybe that's the better idea. Insane. So here is Joe Quesada bringing up some Stan soapboxes in which he Stan in the 1970s said, "Oh yeah, we're going to advocate for some social political issues every now and then. You don't have to like it." Somebody else points out that Stan also offered the Marvel Readers Bill of Rights, which is pretty funny. Go and read this if you get a chance. This is Marvel Comics way back, looks like in the 80s, talking about what your rights are as a reader. People no longer talk about this. Marvel doesn't. This is Stan Lee. These are Stan Lee's ideas. The right to an unlimited variety of reading and entertainment. The right to understand what's going on in the comics. The right to comment about every Marvel tale you read and know that each of our editors values your opinion. Where did that go? The right to buy only the titles that interest you and to shun any title that fails to entertain you. The right to fearlessly assemble in public to discuss Marvel's comics, characters, and creators. The right to address all Marvel editors and creative people by their first names. The right to be told what is happening currently in Marvel Mags and what's being planned in the future. The right to practice scripting and drawing our Marvel characters for your own pleasure and amusement. The right to submit your best work to Marvel for consideration and know that the time and talent you have invested will be given the attention it deserves. The right to expect Marvel always to maintain dedication to quality, commitment to decency, and a sense of humor about everything that we do. None of that's going on anymore. All right. So here's Gail Simone. Sorry we took over comics, everyone. Let me see this picture. I love this picture. Oh, look at this. I'm blocked by Gail Simone. All right. You can't see that picture. That's just the way it goes. Oh, by the way, guys, let's plug this again. Meg Skun Samurai, Deal with the Devil. Mike S. Miller's new offerings from their Comicsgate books. Of course, he did an adaptation of the Meg, big Megalodon shark book. If you like giant sharks like I do, you're going to like this. And I recommend that you back it. Support Comicsgate creators, support Mike S. Miller. Let's see him succeed. Let's see him do well so he can do more books in the future. With that, I'm going to just read some super chats. Let me stop sharing here for a minute. Let's catch up with super chats and just see how you guys are doing. Boy, that was a lecture, guys. Thank you for listening. No, I've already shown Gail's her picture. I've already shown it. I don't need to show it again. It is deliberate trolling. Like, she is trying to just troll people. It's a picture of Gail with Kelly Sue DeConnick. I don't know. And she is she's doing duck face. She's like this. And they're like, sorry, we took over the comic book industry, boys. Sorry, not sorry. Not sorry at all. We took over the comic book industry. Yeah. No, you didn't. You guys are writing C-level books. Jay Taylor says, wait. Oh, no. Where did I leave off here? Hang on. I'll get with it, guys. Arturus77 says, EVS, is Mike like having a dopey cousin? Yeah, that is kind of like Mike. Absolutely. Who's always getting into trouble. You have to apologize for him. You have to keep him in line. Alexander P says, EVS rising as a thought leader in the entertainment industry has given me great joy. Also, Solo getting his name from being alone is crazy stupid. Boomstick 19. Okay, I answered that one. GR People says, I just tweeted you. Got that. Antonio Cardenas says, please support. I got that one too. Days of Clarity says, really want Cecil's backstab, not literally. Yeah, Cecil needs to be pushed onward about backstab. Wally B, thanks for $5 donation. Michael McLaughlin says, this is depressing. What little boy will want to read this? Star Wars is dead. Kathleen Kennedy killed it. Star Wars ended with Return of the Jedi. Well, people say it ended with Revenge of the Sith, which is also fine. Nalaya Writer says, here's some coffee money. You sound like you need coffee. Also, good morning. I don't sound chipper. I feel chipper. I don't know. I feel like I have some energy. GR People says, no, B. Alan Orange predicted the Taco Bell. Yeah, he did. He's a wise man. Antonio Cardenas again says, how much longer will this madness continue before we admit that giving the women the right to vote was a bad idea? Yeah. Spectrum Ball says, I will pay a plumber to blow up his toilet with a quarter stick of dynamite. You'll pay him to do that to Chuck. To K Brady says, Chuck should know most pros will be making widgets on the assembly line once Comics Armageddon happens. And they caused it themselves. That's right. You're going to wear a red hat one way or the other. Either it's going to be a MAGA hat or a McDonald's hat. Just, humble yourself. Cadmium Red says, sounds like you need a dosage of the meditation music artist Enigma. That will totally ease your mind and consciousness. It helps me out a lot. Yeah, I like Enigma. I like that. I might put a little of that on today when I'm working. I put on Enigma. Vanessa Dow is really good too. I like all kinds of music. I know people, every time I tell people that I like something besides Elvis, I'm the biggest Elvis fan. But when I tell people other bands that I like, people get horrified. But I really like everything except for country. I have a hard time with country, but I like hip hop. I like smooth jazz. I really like oldies, standards. Whatever. It's whatever mood I need to be in. Michael Beacon says, Chuck doesn't realize that we're pissed that instead of telling an exciting story, Star Wars now just blasts us with cat urine scented soilings. Gokai Silver says, well, Brian Hibbs just admitted that the direct market is in deep trouble. So here is some money for the EVS was right jar. Yeah, I did I did a nice reading of that speech, which I think was important, a very important speech. Ito Higuma says, I have all 3 of Chuck's Star Wars books. Thought of donating them, but I can't put somebody else through his incoherent dribble. So I'm using them as fire starter. They're really good for that. Well, once you've read them, you might as well. Thank you, by the way, for 10 euros. Valdez D. Frank says, make him bend the knee. Don't hire him. Hail Caesar. Midnight in Exile says, look up LCY Cross in her book, Managing Diversity. It's the source for corporate SJW brainwashing. LA Times published an article about her in 92. Really? Well, thank you for $10 for that. I will look that up because, yeah, that's important. I'd like to read the manual on that. It's definitely, there's a strategy for all of this. Redfield 70 says, soy face is the SJW version of the duck face, and it's 5 times as embarrassing. Yeah, I actually like duck face. I used to do it all the time. I'd take tons of soy face or duck face pictures. Soy face I can't get myself to do, and I'll never do it. Man Theory says, thank God Japan hasn't been infected by this cancer. Kevin Nelson says, thank you, Unc. I could not agree more. Man Theory gives me $20. Thank you, Man Theory. You bought me that's lunch. He says, true story. Whamman says she's so sorry and stands with me when an ad for Build the Wall shows up. I am brown, so I am oppressed until I laid down some Shapiro truth. And then I was not brown anymore. I was a tan white racist. What the yeah, it's not really about the color of your skin. They're trying to, when SJWs say that, you're a person of color, a POC, a POC or a WOC, a woman of color, WOC. What they're really doing is they're just trying to appeal to your base sense of identity in order to mobilize you, in order to bring you close and make you a part of their cult. So when they say, yeah, but you're brown, yeah, you're Latino though, so you should be with us like other Latinos are. That's meant to appeal to your joinerism, to your tribalism, and it's meant to just make you go, yeah, that's an important thing about me. It's absolutely no different than white supremacy when white people go, you're white. Don't you realize you're white and that's an important thing about you? No, it's not important to me at all. It's incidental that I'm white. I don't mind being white. I'm not ashamed of it. I'm not proud of it. It just is kind of a thing. But that kind of cult following, that sort of ability to control people, manipulate people based on their surface level traits, their identity, is a powerful, powerful weapon to utilize, collectivize, and create a mob. So once you actually said, yeah, I might be brown, I might have brown skin, but look, I like Ben Shapiro and I believe what he believes, that made you a problem. You're no longer a weapon to be utilized. You're a problem. And that's what you experienced there. Sorry about that, Man Theory, and thank you for $20. Jonathan Van Hertum says, you are like Peter Finch in Network, mad as hell and not going to take it anymore. Yeah, it's funny. It's just like I kind of hear back from what the people in the mainstream comic book industry, what some of these SJWs think about me and what they say about me. And when we had what's his name? who's the I'm sorry, but the very heavy set guy that we had on a couple of weeks ago. He said, he basically said to me, I understand that she broke your heart. Could you stop taking it out on the entire industry? You're beating the hell out of the entire industry. And what he was referring to is that SJWs have this theory that, like, I got divorced in 2013, and like 2013, that's it. That's when I decided that, I had a problem with the comic book industry, and I was gonna take my anger out on it. And I was like, boy, no, in 2013, the divorce sucked, but I was quite fine with the comic book industry. I kept my head down. I wasn't noticing. I was starting to notice a couple of things. Scott Kurtz. I was starting to notice a couple of things, but no, it wasn't really until the election that I really started to realize how bad it was, because it was affecting me directly now. The idea that I could be a respected, Eisner Award nominee as best artist in 2008, to receive all kinds of plaudits, but have everyone turn on me at once I voted for Trump and Trump won. That was eye-opening to me. And that's when I started to realize exactly how bad these people had become around me. I mean, abusive, monstrous. And I found Diversity in Comics and started to listen to him. And he made some sense to me. And I started to pay attention. I started to change my attitude about things. Look, I love the comic book industry. I just hate the squatters that are destroying it. And it's not the comic book industry that I'm beating the hell out of. It's those squatters. And I'm never going to stop until things change. Either the comic book industry is going to die, or it is going to undergo some very painful chemotherapy. And the cancer that is these SJWs that are ruining it will be expelled, will be destroyed. And comic books are going to end up, at a really impoverished baseline and have to build their way back up again. And if that doesn't happen, it doesn't really matter. Comicsgate is at that baseline right now. We are building ourselves up. I don't really care what they do if they succeed. In fact, if we can succeed on our own, which I think we're doing, and I think we're showing them the way. Black Angus Review says, Gail Simone, would you like fries with that MAGA? Jay Taylor says we should crowdfund a cemetery plot for the comics industry and put Gail's took over the comic book industry tweet on the headstone. That's funny. Matt Horkin says Taco Bell can absolutely be healthy and has pie. Diversity in Cecil says no backstab till 10K subs. Have to build my base first. That's correct, Cecil. Good for you. So get out there, work on your channel, get it out there, and I'll help you any way I can. Redfield 70. By the way, everyone subscribe to Diversity and Cecil. Diversity & Cecil. Redfield says, love you, Uncle E, but here's $5 to help you pay for a doctor's visit to cure you of your duck face dysphoria. I don't do duck face anymore. I did it when I first got my iPhone. I'm like, selfies. Yeah, that's what you do. You put the camera up here and you take pictures of yourself going, I don't know. Everybody looks good when they're duck facing. SSB candidate says, Uncle Ethan, can I call you Tio Ethan in Spanish? You can call me whatever you want to. I mean, look, I'm grateful to have you guys in the audience. I really am. All right, with that, I think I'm going to get to work. Was that a charming live stream? Was that okay, guys? As usual, that's what I ask you guys. Has it been charming? We've got 1,560 people here. I'm so grateful for this audience. I really am. I'm grateful that you guys come and watch the show. Alert says, nope, it was not charming. Oh, no, I failed at my prime my mission. People are saying most charming. Sure, very great live stream. Charming as F. People want me to end it with Fabio. I don't know. Let me see if we'll end it with a little Fabio. Might be able to do that. I might be able to do that for you guys. We haven't done that in a while. And Fabio is important. Those of you who don't know what Fabio is, you're new to this channel, you don't understand. Of course, Fabio is the, romance novel cover model, right? He has long blonde hair. He's very Italian, and he's become kind of a mascot for this channel. I don't know how that happened, but it did happen. Everyone loves Fabio. Fabio in 1993 put out Let me switch the speaker here. Fabio in 1993 put out an album. He decided he was going to be a musician, and this is Fabio. Basically, his whole album, interspersed with various songs, kind of slow jams. Fabio released his ideas about what it means to be in love with a woman, and his philosophy. So we're going to listen to a couple of those on our way out. This is how Fabio feels about surprises.
I like nothing better than to surprise my lady with a plane ticket and a toothbrush and her bikini. My favorite destination is the Maldives Islands. Primitive, untouched. The smell of the crystal clear ocean. The velvet of the sand. The brilliance of the stars. We could be on another planet. We need no clothes, no money, just each other.
Yeah. That's a surprise, ladies. When Fabio shows up with your toothbrush and a bikini, and he sweeps you off to the Maldives Islands. That's what romance is. Wonder how Fabio feels about tropical islands. Let's find out.
Sometimes there is no place I'd rather be than on a tropical island. We seem to have it all to ourselves. Just me and my special lady. There are no phones to intrude on us. Fish from the water, fruits from the trees, and wonderful silence. The only sounds we hear are the sounds of nature and of our hearts beating as one. And the only music is the music we make together.
Fabio and Tico, Comicscape power couple. This is what it's all about, ladies. Or gentlemen. Yeah. Fabio on humor.
One of the most important things about a woman is a sense of humor. It's this sense of humor that breaks down our inhibitions. She can seduce me with her laughter. The child in us comes out.
The child in us.
We're free to play and explore anything in our minds or in our hearts.
With Tico. Yes. The humor of Rose Tico. Shall we do one more? Let's find out how Fabio feels about slow dancing.
A long, slow dance can be the best way to bring a woman close to me. On my terrace, or maybe a sunset at the beach. I always hold her so close so I can whisper in her ear. I embrace her very gently while the music carries us away. I want to hear her say, yes. I want to kiss her for a very, very long time.
Jeez.
I can't help myself. All I want to do is touch her. Her caress is my command.
Her caress is my command. Hell yeah, that's how men need to treat women, everybody. You know, I mean, like, men don't treat women like that anymore. That is what it's all about. He wants to kiss you for a very, very, very long time. Okay? Very long time. Yeah, that is Fabio's album, Fabio After Dark. It's very hard to find. If you can actually find a CD of that, I managed to find one on eBay. And I, you know, if you can find one, you're not going to pay very much for it. But they are very, very hard to find. They're just great. So yeah, what is the whole album like? It's Fabio talking about romance or inner beauty. And then you'll get like a Billy Ocean song or a Dionne Warwick song, you know, in between his musical essays. And it's absolutely the greatest CD ever made. And it is Comicsgate. It is Comic Artist Pro Secrets. It's been a pleasure to be with you. Been a pleasure to do this live stream. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks for the super chats. And thanks for always being such a great and loyal and fun, friendly audience. I will see you guys later with another video. I just put up a video earlier today about the sadness and despair of Brie Larson's poison as Captain Marvel. Go watch that video for me, please. Click like on this video. Click thumbs up on your way out. And thank you so much. I'll see you again later. Okay, guys? Have a great weekend.